Breaking news out of Arizona, the FBI releasing chilling new photos and videos of a subject in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Images recovered from Nancy's home surveillance camera show a masked individual on the front porch. Now take a closer look at this video. You can see a person approach the front door and then cover the camera with a gloved hand. Now that person's also wearing a zip-up jacket and a backpack with a mask leaving just the eyes and mouth visible. A gun also appears to be in a holster in the middle of their waistband, the front part of their pants. You can also see this individual turn around and pull some plants from the yard. Now in the second video, you see the same person using the plants to try to cover the camera. Savannah Guthrie reposted these videos to social media, writing, quote, "Someone out there recognizes this person. We believe she is still out there. Bring her home." I want to bring in Kirk Burkhalter, a former NYPD detective and New York Law School criminal professor. Kirk, I know you've looked at this video many times. What stands out to you?
So a couple of things stand out. First of all, just generally speaking, the video is a bit of a game changer in that what we've seen with other videos when they're released nationally, someone knows this person, someone other than this person's associates who were interacting with them or may have assisted with them. The clothing is somewhat distinct, their gait and so forth. The other thing that jumps out is actually the holster. It's very odd. It's a generic holster. Looks to be a generic holster as opposed to one that is designed specifically for that firearm. The individual is wearing it in the front as opposed to the side. You know, maybe someone who's not too familiar with a firearm. Even having a holster, why not just throw the gun in your pocket or something? So that's rather odd.
What about the choices in what this individual is wearing, specifically those gloves? It's hard to tell what they're made of, and they don't look like what you would normally think of professional criminal, those types of gloves that they'd be wearing. They're cumbersome.
Well, they look cumbersome. You know, the first choice would probably be some type of rubber gloves or the gloves you see folks wear when they're cooking, surgical gloves. I mean, those would kind of be the last type. Because it's difficult to manipulate smaller objects wearing those gloves. So that seems odd. And also that backpack seems rather full. And I'm just so curious as to what might have been in that backpack, you know, rope or some other type of materials to detain someone. What was this person anticipating doing? And not to mention taking the time to tie the backpack in the front. The entire video is quite odd, to be honest.
Now, apart from the physical characteristics, what else sticks out to you from this video that could point to a possible motive or familiarity with the victim or her home?
So motive is very difficult from this video to determine if this person actually had a motive. Certainly looks like perhaps they were anticipating someone being home. Why else would you bring or carry a weapon? Also, the fact they seem a little unprepared, you know, searching around for a plant or something to cover the actual doorbell camera. Their movements seem kind of slow. I would think, knowing that there's a surveillance camera, I would want to get in and out or get in and out of the view of the camera as quickly as possible. So that seems rather odd. So once again, a little bit difficult to discern a motive. However, certainly they anticipated perhaps meeting some resistance or meeting with someone inside.
I'm curious, seeing this video of the suspect, do you think it's possible this person acted alone when it came to abducting Nancy Guthrie, with the description of who she was as well? Mobility was difficult. Do you think another person had to be with this individual looking at that video?
It's certainly possible that this person acted alone because we don't see anyone else, right? So wouldn't it be easier to accomplish what this person was trying to do? Have one person hold their hand over the camera while the other person disables the camera and so forth. So it does tend to look like perhaps they were acting alone, hence carrying all, you know, all the materials, whatever they are, in the large backpack, being armed. This seems like something that should have been more of a two-person job. So they very well could have been acting alone. There's no indicia that there's anyone else standing by. But that's certainly speculation.
How important, though, is this video now to this investigation when it comes to evidence, which up until now, we've only had a little bit of evidence, it sounds like, as in terms of physical evidence. We knew that the blood on the front porch was connected to Nancy Guthrie, and also a lot of it is from digital evidence from the apparent ransom note sent to various news outlets. How important is this video right now?
Well, I think it's very important. First of all, just starting with something you mentioned, if you examine the video closely, blood is not visible in this video when you pan out and you're able to look at the porch. However, we do know blood was visible once the police arrived at the scene after what now certainly looks like an abduction. And further, it's important to the investigation because the person of interest now has a face, so to speak. In other words, we know they're not 7 feet tall, and we know they're not 4'11". So it narrows the field a bit. We know what they were wearing. If this clothing and the backpack and so forth were distinctive to a retailer in the area or distinctive to something that someone tends to wear, that's extremely helpful. And like I mentioned, someone out there knows this person. And someone out there is going to see this video and determine that, hey, this possibly looks like person X because they walk that way. They have that type of clothing. Just reminds me of that person. Those are very important leads.
I'm looking at a little bit closer at that screenshot of this individual's face, and you can see their eyes, and you can see there's something reflective in their mouth. It's unclear if they're holding some sort of light or a flashlight. But how clear are these photos to you when you see them? Say, you know what, there's a lot of information in that photo.
Well, he's wearing a mask, so it's only going to be but so clear. There appears to be facial hair around the mouth, and I'm very cautious when I say appears to be. If you do, at the point where there may be a suspect in custody, certainly the authorities are going to compare that person's actual photo or what they actually look like to this photo. So, from my perspective, first and foremost, better than nothing. You might be able to narrow down, for instance, the race of this person. They tend to look like they have a lighter pigmentation than darker. That's huge. And we have millions of people in this country, so anything we can do to eliminate people is extremely helpful.
This reminds us often of a recent case that we were following very closely that had a similar timeline. We're now in the second week of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. We harken back to the search for Luigi Mangione during that, and we remember it went days without a lot of evidence, and all of a sudden we saw this picture, this very distinctive picture of an individual with very distinctive eyebrows.
Yes.
And then the investigation sped up. Are you seeing similar patterns with this particular case?
Certainly there are some similarities. I mean, if you recall, I believe it was a worker at McDonald's that said they recognized the eyebrows of this person. They were quite distinct. So there are certainly similarities in that this is the world we now live in, where digital images are captured quite often. The first thing that many of us were saying was, wow, this poor woman lived in an area where there were not many cameras and so forth. Very difficult in this day and age to travel around without your image being captured digitally. And that really sped up that investigation. So the hope here is that would speed up the investigation here and enable the authorities to find Nancy Guthrie.
I'm curious if you think, looking at that video too, the different choices or maybe even slight mistakes that this individual made, how that would lead authorities to believe that other mistakes have been made along the way.
Oh, certainly. And, from the beginning, well, I won't say from the beginning, but at some point over the course of the last week, I have felt that if I had to guess, this is someone who perhaps hasn't done this before, or they have not fully planned out what they were going to do here. There seems to be a lack of a complete plan of action. Who are you going to contact? When are you going to contact them? How are you going to contact them? How are they going to get you whatever it is you're asking for? What are you going to do with the person that you abduct. Where are you going to hold them? How are you going to gain access to the property? You know, you mentioned kind of like pros, and but a person who has done this before would think these things out. And I think that this seems a little ad hoc in many different ways, as we see this person kind of fussing around in front of the camera.
A really important part of this whole story, Kirk, has been the social media posts by both Savannah Guthrie and her two other siblings. And then last night, Savannah posting a video of just her pleading to the public for help. How important have those social media posts been to this investigation, do you think?
Well, I think that it has kept this case active in the mind of the public. As soon as the Guthries posted the video of this doorbell cam, not that these folks are trying to be amateur sleuths or whatever the case, but you saw on X different comments. Hey, does anybody recognize the backpack, the reflective portions of the backpack, this or that or that? What about facial recognition software and so forth? So it just means that the public has been very active in thinking about this abduction and keeping this at the forefront of the news and the media so folks can think about it. Law enforcement operates best when they partner with civilians, when they partner with the public. They don't work best when they are in a vacuum. So anything you can do to inspire that partnership in an investigation is always going to be helpful.
Yeah, this story has certainly captivated the entire world. Kirk Burkhalter, thank you so much for that insight.
My pleasure.